Hi folks, welcome to the channel and welcome to the man cave. So today's video is all about fitting a set of heated grips to your Triumph Speed Twin. In my case, I've got a 2020 Speed Twin, which I've had for about 4 or 5 months now. We're now going into the winter months. It's going to get a little bit cold, and we all know we get those nice sunny days, but the temperature is going to be below 10 degrees centigrade. I don't like wearing thick gloves, so I like to wear my summer gloves year round. And on those days in the winter months when we can get out on the bike, I like to have my hands nice and warm. So to that effect, I'm going to be fitting a set of Triumph accessory heated grips to my 2020 Speed Twin. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around and I'll show you how to do it. Price wise, the heated grips from Triumph are going to cost you something in the region of £225. And the beauty of these heated grips, as opposed to non-Triumph heated grips, are that the installation is very nice, neat and tidy. There are two versions or two part numbers for the heated grips depending on what year of Triumph Speed Twin you've got. Mine's a 2020, and basically if you look under the rear seat at the ECU, if you've got the two connectors, then that is Euro 4, so you'll need the part number that I'm using. I'll put it on the screen here and in the description down below. And then if you've got a slightly younger bike, so 2021 onwards, I guess that's going to be the Speed Twin with the flashy upside down forks, and you have the 3 connectors on the ECU under the rear seat, then you're going to need a different part number, because the power supply that connects the wiring harness of the heater grips to the main electrical wiring harness of the bike, they're on different sides of the frame, so you need a different wiring loom. So that's why there's 2 different part numbers. Time wise, hopefully it's going to take you no more than 1 hour. There is a really good website for you to get some instructions from. It's called triumphinstructions.com. All you need to do is go to that website, put in the part number, and then it will bring up a set of instructions for you. I've downloaded the instructions, gone through them, so I'm pretty au fait with them. And the only thing about these instructions are it covers a variety of Triumph models, so not just the Speed Twin. So I've just gone through certain areas. I've just sort of crossed them out where it's not relevant to me. And I've also had a look at some YouTube videos, and I've taken some workarounds that they've come up with to install the heater grips. So it's going to be a bit of a hash up between some YouTube videos and the official instructions from Triumph. Tool wise then, what do we need? Not too many tools. We need some pliers, a Torx screwdriver. I'll put all the sizes up on the screen as and when we come to it. A Allen key, I've got a T-handle thing there, whatever that's called, a star screwdriver, and then either a 10mm spanner or socket, and then a 8mm spanner as well. They're the only sizes I remember. And then hopefully we won't be using this special tri bit that you need to remove one of the screws from the right hand handlebar cluster, so hopefully we won't need that. There is a workaround for that which I've got from YouTube, so don't panic about that. Going to use some rubber gloves because I'm going to be taking the fuel tank off, so I don't want to get petrol coming out of the fuel line onto my hands. And then just to mop up any seepage, got an old rag as well. So I think that's it. I think I'll break it down into several parts. So what we're going to do now is just remove the bits that we need to remove and prep the bike for installation of the heated grips. First thing to do then is simply remove the seat. What we need to do now is just disconnect the battery by removing the black lead first, followed by the red lead. So I'm using a 10mm spanner for this. And then we disconnect the red wire, which is the live wire. You may see extra wires under here. Don't worry, I've got some extra accessories on the bike. With an 8mm spanner or socket and a 10mm socket or spanner, then you just undo the tank retaining bolt and nut. Remove the nut, put it somewhere safe. Lift the tank up very slightly, and that will take the pressure off of the bolt, and then you can remove the bolt without damaging the threads. And then folks, I think we come to the most trickiest part of the installation, and that is removing the tank. So we need to remove the tank because the power supply from the bike to power your heated handlebar grips. The power connector is actually behind the tank on the frame on the right hand side, so we need to get access to that power supply that is already installed on the bike, but it's just got a blank connector on it. So on the left hand side of the tank there is, I think it's either a breather pipe or an overflow pipe. As you can see here, it's just on the inside of the tank, and there's two C-clips keeping it connected to the tank, and then finally a bit of tape here. I've just put the tape on to show you where they are, and the bit of tape on the front here, that is where the pipe just pushes on to the male part of the tank on the underside here, and there's no retaining clip there, so you're just going to pull that out and then remove the pipe from the C-clips, and then that bit is done. Then we'll go around to the left hand side, and then what we have to do is remove two connectors, and those connectors are, as you can see here, mounted on two prongs on the frame, and we just have to lift those up and then remove the connectors from the connector plugs, and then remove the fuel valve or whatever it's called, and that's why we've got some rags as well. So to make that a little bit easier, I haven't got a block of wood. Ideally I would put a block of wood under here just to raise it up, and what you can do is just pull the tank back about ½ an inch or so, just making sure when you lift the tank up you're not going to damage the front lip of the tank here, but there is a little bit of a rubber protector thing there. So what I've got is, what I'm going to use is, put that down, it's just a can of brake cleaner. Going to wrap it around a couple of times with a cloth, and it just means I don't have to hold the tank up too much. Pop that in there. I'm not going to damage any cabling, so I've just pulled it back about ½ an inch, so I'm not going to damage the leading part of the seam on the top here. And then what I'm going to do is just reach under and then just remove those breather pipes or overflow pipes, whatever they are. So that's the first one, and the blue tape indicates where those clips are on the tank, as I showed you on the video. And then that's the second one. And when you put these back, you've got to make sure you don't pinch them and stop any flow of fuel or whatever it is in there. And then finally I'm just going to pull, let me just grab my rag first in case any fuel comes out, and then it's in line with the nut here. Just put it under there, and hopefully that should just pull off. Says he. And there we go, and there's nothing's come out of that, no fuel at all, so I'd say you don't have to worry about that. So I'd say that is either a breather pipe or the overflow pipe. There we go, so that's disconnected. Just keep it up that way so nothing dribbles out, and then we'll go to the other side. So I ran the other side, and I've tried to take the plugs out, but it's a little bit awkward on my own. If you've got two people, brilliant. If you're on your own, I've just had to improvise a little bit. So my can of brake cleaner is not raising it high enough, and I haven't got a thick bit of wood, so I've just gone to my cupboard, and I've got a extension cable, and then I've just put a towel over that so we're not going to damage anything, and that gives me enough height to then easily get in there and use my hands and get to the plugs. So I'm improvising as we go along doing the video. So let's remove the two plugs and the pressure fuel line. So it's so much easier if you get the tank raised enough to get in here. So just going to take the first one off the frame, just lift it up, and then very straightforward how we disconnect it. You see here, there's this, I don't know if you can see it on the video, up here there's a little tab on the inside, just with your nail, or if you haven't got any nails, get a very slim screwdriver, lift it up, and then this should just waggle it out, and that plug should come free. And there we go, so that is now out, and that's the bit that you're moving up to release the plug. That's one, and then the second one, then just lift it up, and then there's another flap here, just lift it up, and you can see that exactly the same as the other one, lift it up, and then waggle the plug towards you, and then out it comes. So that's now disconnected from the tank. I think that, I don't know what that powers. And then what we need to do is just remove this pressure fuel line, and then we can take the tank off. The final thing we need to do is remove the fuel line. I've actually put my rubber gloves on because I don't like the smell of fuel, and then I've got my rags as well if there's any drips of fuel. Nothing on the internet showing you how to remove the fuel line when other people have fitted their heater grips, so I haven't got a service manual, so here we go. So there's a clip here, just need to push the clip forward, and then that will expose a square push button here, and there is one on the other side. So you just rotate the fuel line around a little bit to get your fourth finger and thumb in, and then you just squeeze them both together. It is a bit of a fast squeeze, those two squares both together, and then you should just be able to rock the line upwards. There it goes. It's now unseated, and I've got my rag all the way up, and there we go, it's off. And I've got my rag just to, there we go, not too much fuel coming out. So these are the two push buttons you've got to push there and on the other side as well. You see one on the other side. So you push those together, and then that will release it as you pull it upwards. So you can see how long the shaft is. So there you've got about 1.5 inches to pull it up. So that is everything done, and we're just going to remove the tank and put it somewhere safe. Next, with a 4mm Allen key, we want to remove the bar end cover, both from the right hand side and the left hand side. There is a bit of blue Loctite on these, so when you come to refit everything at the end of the installation, you may want to put some blue medium strength Loctite back on the threads, but that is entirely up to you. I don't know if you can see the blue Loctite there. And then just keep all these little bits somewhere safe. And then with a Torx T30, just remove the bar end mirrors. And then the last thing we need to do is just remove this plastic end piece. And then we do the same for the other side. Next, we've got to remove the handlebar grips from the left hand side and the right hand side. So just take your time. It may come off first time or it may not. I wouldn't suggest putting any spray up here like WD or anything, because it'll be on there forever and a day, and you run the risk of your new grips spinning around potentially. So just take your time and wiggle it off. And the more of the grip that comes off, the easier it becomes. So we're nearly there now. About 1 inch and a bit to go. And we've not caused any damage at all. And there we have the left grip off. The next thing we're going to do is remove the plastic insert from the handlebar. The instructions do get you to remove the bezel, but we're not going to do that. Instead, just to give the throttle cable a bit more play, we're just going to undo this rubber band down here, like so. Oops, I forgot we also need to take this rubber strap off as well. Next, just remove these two screws from the throttle casing. One, and then the second one. There's the second one. So as we have removed the rubber strap from down here, hopefully this will give us enough play on the throttle housing to allow us to take the whole throttle off without having to use the special tri-bit which would be used for these two screws here. So fingers crossed we'll be able to take it off. Your bike may not have these red throttle spacers in there. Don't worry about that. That's just something I bought from another company. Just takes up the slack of the throttle, give you better throttle response. So what we're going to do now is, as we've taken those two straps off to release the cable, so we're just going to feed the cable and the whole throttle unit towards the end of the handlebar. And then what we're going to do then is just simply remove the throttle from the throttle casing. So we get to a point where we're nearly at the end of the handlebar, which is pretty much there. And it's just basically a case of just tilting the throttle like this and then just pull it out, and that's it. And don't forget to remove the plastic insert. Well, that's it. You have successfully completed the preparation phase. That will take you hopefully no more than 20 minutes. Now all we need to do is do the installation phase, and fingers crossed that will also take you no more than 20 minutes. So we are now at the installation phase. So we've got the wiring loom, we've got the left hand heated grip which has got the controller on it, and then the throttle grip for the right hand side. And the only things we're not going to use from the kit are these two blanking plugs here, so we won't be fitting those on the bike. And just to let you folks know, in relation to that's the standard grip on the left hand side that we took off, and the throttle pattern is exactly the same, and the feel of the rubber is exactly the same. The only thing, you're going to lose a little bit of length, so you won't have as much width for you to put your hand on it, but apparently it's not a problem. Other people have noticed that, but it should be no problem at all. But I just thought I would highlight that. So what we're going to do now is take the wiring loom and feed that through the handlebars. Triumph very kindly already have a cutout hole for you to insert the cable through. So what we're going to do is take the wiring loom and take this end plug, which is the 4-pin connector. This is going to go on the left hand side. So pop it up here through the hole and then just feed it through, and it should come out the other end. So just take your time doing this. You don't want to twist anything or snag anything. So at the end of each of the handlebars there is a cutout for the cabling to sit in. Take your left hand heater grip. The plug will only go in one way, like so, and then it's just a case of just taking your time and then feeding it all in through the hole. And then the cable here, just make sure that it sits in the recess, and obviously it only goes on one way. You've got a screw hole at the top, and there's a screw hole at the top here, and a corresponding one at the bottom, and the control button obviously facing you. So just take your time and then make sure that the wires sit in the recess at the end of the handlebar, and then just reach around by the clocks and then pull the wiring loom through. Just take your time, just waggle it. If it gets snagged, then just start again, I guess. There we go. It all feels nice. There's no resistance there. Just pulling it through. And there we go, that's on. You've got 2 holes in the handlebars, one at the top, one at the bottom, and just align the holes up with the grips. And then just put the Torx T20 screw in. Just have a quick look. Yeah, Torx T20, line the holes up, and then screw it in. And these are done up to 2 Newton meters. And then put the one in the bottom as well. Again, to 2 Newton meters, or in my case, until I think it's tight enough. And then we take the upper and the lower housing covers, pop them on here, and then secure them in place with the 2 remaining Torx screws. And these screws are Torx T10s done up to 1 Newton meter. That's one, and then we screw the second one in. 1 Newton meter or just enough. And there we have the left hand heated handlebar grip and housing have been fitted. So now onto the right hand side, the throttle side. So that's the square 2-pin connector, and then we're just going to feed it up through the hole and then out towards the throttle side, and then it eventually comes out. So now possibly comes the hardest bit of the installation actually. So you've got your throttle side, so just simply plug them in until it clicks. There we go. And then again you've got the cutout recess at the bottom of the end of the bars for the cables, and then pull from the other end and just feed the cable in through the hole and just get the yellow bit cable into that recess, and then carefully just giving yourself a bit of slack to slide the throttle housing up basically right to the end. And then what you need to do is this part here, put that in first. It will only go in one way, so you've almost got the housing, well, it's sort of on the, it is at the end of the handlebar, and then with that lower part here, hopefully you can see it. I'll try and zoom in if I can, and sort of put that in first. So push that in first, and then if it's not going to go in easily, just waggle it around a little bit. Don't go nuts with it, you don't want to snap anything at this point. It might take several goes. So there we go. Put that lower bit in first. Yeah, this is the hardest bit of the install. Yeah, so that's in. So that bottom bit's in. Now I'll just remove it. So that bit there goes into the bottom bit. So almost angle it to get it in there, and then we're in. See, that's now on. And then just very carefully, slowly pull the cable back through. And you can even have a look at the bar end here just to make sure how much slack you've got in there, and then just feed it all the way back. All right, so it took me a couple of times there, so I've just gone backwards and forwards with the cable. you don't want to yank on it because you're going to snap something. So I'm happy that's now in properly, yeah, sat in the groove in the bottom there, all looks good. And then just hold the throttle housing and then just, yeah, how does that feel? Yeah, that feels like normal operation to me. Absolutely no problem at all. Now just got to put the housing back on. Housing's got a round pin on here and that sits in a hole on the handlebar, so just to line that up and then just slot it in, and that actually stops the whole thing spinning around. There you go, so that's not going to spin around now. And then just put the 2 screws in. There's one and there's the second one. And then most importantly, still check to see that you've got normal throttle response, and to me that seems fine. And then just pull the throttle slack through and then put the 2 rubber straps back on the top here and then the one down there as well. And then what you can do is just make sure you have full and free movement with nothing being impeded. Next thing is just going to remove the cable guide from the left hand side. One and the second one. In fact, I'm just going to loosen that. I'm not going to take that lower one out. Don't need to. And then we're going to take this plug, feed it down here around the back of the forks. Try to remove any twists from the cable and then just simply place it behind that retaining guide. And then what you want is these blue marks just to be showing just to the front wheel side of this retaining guide. And then we will feed that cable through here and it will come out on the other side. What we need to do now is access the power supply for the heated grip. So there's a Torx T30 screw to be undone here, and then remove that screw, flip it over and then get your pliers and then simply squeeze, and then there we go, that is the power supply free. And then what we need to do is just remove the blanking plug and then connect the 2 and then reattach it. Sometimes you get the blanking plug out first time, other times not. So if you find it difficult to take it out, just with a flat bladed screwdriver, push down on the tab there. So push it all the way down and then just move it forward. Just try and get it coming out a little bit. And then hopefully, there we go. Hopefully you just start on this way and then out it comes. You can see there's a male piece in there and that fits into the female piece there. So orientate them the right way around, and there we go. And it should click. There we go, it's clicked. And that's now, the power's been connected, and we just tidy this up, put this back onto here, and then screw it back in there. And there we are. That's done up to what I think is 3 Newton meters. Nothing snagging anywhere, so we just go over to the other side and put the plate back on there. And then refit the Torx T25 screw, and that's done up to 3 Newton meters together with the bottom screw. And the instruction manual does say that the blue bits of tape should be just to the left of the plastic guide here. So 3 Newton meters. There we go. Voila. And then what we're going to do is just turn the handlebars full left, full right, just to make sure that nothing's catching or snagging, which it isn't. Really happy with that. And then all we need to do is just, the 2 cables come out the bottom of the handlebars, secure them to the rest of the cable bundle on the left hand side. So just undo this rubber band and then put those 2 around there. And again, just check it's not snagging or anything, which it isn't. No, happy with that. Well, that's it, folks. That is the installation of the heated grips complete. Not too bad, actually. I reckon it'll take you about 40 minutes to get to where we are now. So we're just going to have to reverse fit everything. And it's always a good idea, as the tank is off and all that kind of stuff, just give the frame and all the other bits and pieces a bit of a dust down. that's it. We have hopefully successfully installed the Triumph heated grips onto the Speed Twin. Looks wise, I think they look really good. The only cabling we have is the cables coming out from the middle of the handlebars. So yeah, really nice installation. I like that. £225 or thereabouts. I'd pay that again. No issues with that price whatsoever. And the only thing I have done, I have actually started the bike just to make sure that everything was okay with that fuel line, and it is. So currently I've got the Optimate battery charger plugged into the battery, and so I'm not going to start the bike, I don't need to. And what I'm going to do is turn the ignition on, and the heated handlebars, there's 3 settings: off, low and high. And if the battery voltage drops below 11.8 volts, they've got a safety system which will turn the heated grips off. So when you press the button, it will tell you what your current setting is, and the default setting when you switch the ignition from off to on, whether you've had it on high before, it will always go to off. So you press the button and that will tell you what your current setting is. Press it again and it goes to low, again it goes to high, and then the final press, it turns the heated grips off. And then you have your current heat setting on the display, and that will display it for about 3 or 4 seconds, then it will disappear. But if you're riding along and you want to know, am I on high or low or off, just give it a single press and that will tell you what your current setting is. So on high, I've already had them on high actually, and they warm up really nicely. I wear summer gloves pretty much year round, but I think on a nice dry winter's day when it's below 10 degrees, I'll have my heated Kai's jacket on, and now I'll have my heated handlebar grips on as well. So I'm really happy with that, and yeah, I can feel the heat coming through. So all told, I think they're a nice accessory, Triumph accessory to put on your Speed Twin. Hopefully it's been of some use to you folks that are thinking about doing it. I would say give it a go. It will take you no more than 1 hour with maybe a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, some biscuits. But yeah, if you follow the video, you shouldn't have any issues whatsoever. I've done it over 2 days, lots of stopping and starting to come up with the best method. And with this method, if you haven't got that fancy tri-head screw for the throttle assembly, then with this method, you don't need that fancy tri-bit to gain access to removing the throttle. So hopefully it's been of help to somebody that's going to do this. Anyway, put any comments in the comments section down below. As ever, ride safe, and we will see you all again soon in the next video. Cheerio for now.